Can I make sure?
This motherfucker crazy as pandemic motherfucker. Got this Texas exempt truck. I bet not do it.
Don't run over him.
Nah, I mean, you know, we on this is just like gravel. You gonna slide.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going and slow, and then he act like he gonna go, and then he stop.
I know, I saw that. Have a good day.
You do too, baby.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey y'all, Rick Fairless, Strokers Dallas. Let's go for a ride in this brand new Toyota Tundra 4-wheel drive double cab pickup truck. More about that later. Well, I'm gonna do a whole video about it, but not today. Today we are going to see Clyde Barrow's grave. So Clyde Barrow, Bonnie and Clyde Barrow, he was a low crass, yeah, probably that too, a low class crook. Say that 4 times, not 3, not 5, 4 times. Say that. Low class crook, low class cook, a low-class scoundrel, a scally. So we went and saw Bonnie's grave. Me and Biggin, we rode over there, but it's a little chilly today. So we're going to go see Clyde's grave, and I did a little research to find out more about them. I knew that they had lived in West Dallas, which is where Strokers is. I'm in West Dallas, almost Irving, but West Dallas. And Clyde and Bonnie were a very interesting couple that just happened to catch the fancy of the people back during the Depression. Now remember, during the Depression, weren't no TV, it was newspaper and radio. Clyde was basically a low-level crook. Let's talk about Bonnie first. She's prettiest. She's like 4'11". 4'11". Bonnie was married. She's 4'11", and she was married till the day she died. She wore her husband's wedding ring. Well, he was a crook too, so he was in and out of prison and was always gone and all that. And so she fell in love with Clyde. She met Clyde and fell in love with that knucklehead. He was only 5'4". Heck, I was that tall in the 4th grade. So he's a little feller, and he weighed like 130 pounds. Little bitty guy, but they fell in love, and evidently she liked, like her husband, she liked the bad boys, and so when he did bad things, it turned her on, I guess. So she liked the bad boys, and her mother didn't like the Barrows. They didn't like the Barrows, and I don't guess the Barrows liked them. And so Bonnie met Clyde, and at the time Clyde was just a low-level crook. He'd went to prison. He got arrested for a couple of times. One time was for not returning a rent car. One time was for driving a truckload of stolen turkeys. Must have been close to Thanksgiving. He was trying to help out the neighbors. And went to prison. So his mama was like, she was like the head of all them. She was the boss. And so Mama's trying to get him out of prison, and he was in there, and they used to beat him up because he's such a little feller. And he went in there just as kind of a low-level goon, you know, with, you know, just being a normal kind of a street tough guy. And he got in there and with some real tough guys, and come out mean as a rattlesnake. But one of the things he did, trying to get out of all the hard labor in prison, he figured if he could chop one of his toes off, they'd let him out. So he had another inmate, while they were chopping wood, chop his toe off, and I think he accidentally chopped off 2 toes. But Clyde was set to get out of prison anyway because his mom was working on it. So he chopped his toes off for nothing. He got out of prison and he started robbing stores, and then he got into robbing banks. And here's a fact that I thought was kind of interesting. So he robbed a bank one time and he got $80 because the bank didn't have any money in it. And then the most money he ever got from one of his many robberies was $1,500. Can you imagine that? I mean, yeah, $1,500 back then was probably like 10 grand is today. How far are you gonna go on 10 grand today? Clyde liked fast cars, but because he chopped his toes off, or his buddy did, he always drove barefooted. He couldn't drive with the shoe on his right foot. And they had a wreck one time, and her leg got doused with battery acid, and then so the rest of her life she limped. They said she would drag her foot, or she would hop, or Clyde would carry her. When they got killed, that they had that car on display at a bunch of different places, and from what I understand, the guy that owns it still brings it out to display every now and then. But I actually saw the car, of all places, the State Fair of Texas, when I was a teenager. They had it there in one of the exhibits from the state of Texas, had it on there. So I don't know who owns it now, but I think it's a private collector. So what about this Toyota, Rick? 2020 Toyota Tundra. And if you're not familiar with the Toyota Tundra, they are built in, drum roll please, San Antonio, Texas, and the crowd goes wild! Did you know that? So my buddy and his family own Toyota of Irving, and so years ago, over 10 years ago, I bought a Toyota Tundra for the shop truck to pick up motorcycles and pick up parts and different things like that. Well, I've had, many different people driving the shop truck over the years, and they've all had one thing in common. They've trashed that truck. They've tore it up. They banged into stuff. It's pulled a trailer for all these years. I mean, it has been abused. They could not break that Toyota. So when I needed another truck, I talked to my buddy and I said, that Toyota Tundra you sold me 10, 12 years ago has been phenomenal, a workhorse. We can't tear it up. We keep the oil change and it just keeps on going. 200 and something thousand miles on it, all in town, pulling a trailer with knuckleheads bouncing it off of curbs. Can't tear it up. He said, well, let's talk about a new one. So we did. If you are looking for a pickup truck and you want the toughest truck that you ain't gonna tear up, check out the Toyota. The Tacoma is a good truck for a smaller truck. And then if you want a full-size truck, that Toyota Tundra, that's a bad dude, man. But I'm gonna do another video where we walk around, because we lifted this one and put some bigger tires on it and airbags on it and stereo system and engraved seats, or not engraved, embroidered seats with my logo on it. Wrapped it. I mean, this is a cool truck. Okay, I'm gonna turn right here. Turn in here. They're working on the road. I'm gonna back up over here. I like to back in. I don't want to back in so bad I hit my truck. Although, you check out them iron cross bumpers. It's a bad dude, boy. Okay, so I'm gonna sign off for now, and I will see y'all at the gravesite in just a minute. Bye. Okay, so here we are trying to find our way in to see Clyde Barrow's grave. It's a small cemetery and it looks like it's closed or hadn't been opened in a long time. But we're on a mission. We want to see where 5'4" Clyde Barrow is buried. Wonder if he got like a little short coffin. Hey, can you bury my friend? How tall is he? 5'4". Yeah, and I'll save you some money too. You got like a small coffin. All right, so here we are at the graveyard. Looks like nobody's been out here in a while. So that must be Clyde, where they got the brick. Clyde C. and Marvin. Well, Marvin is his brother they called Buck. So look, so somebody put out some wine, some red velvet, a half a bottle of Corona, and a rotten pumpkin. Gone but not forgotten. So he died, so his brother died in 33. His brother got killed. And his brother was 28 years old. Clyde died in 34, and he was 25 years old. So here's Henry B. and Cummy T. That's his ma and pa. He's one of the most prolific killers. 13 people, a bunch of cops, 10, 11 cops, 9 or 10 cops, and the rest people. And from what I understand, you know, see, there was no TV back then. It was newspapers and the radio. And it was during the Depression, so people were just, you know, people weren't working, so people were just, they were living through the newspapers every day and the radio. And so the romance between a married Bonnie and a prison ex-prisoner convict Clyde caught the imagination of America, and it just so happened they were here in Dallas, Texas. All right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go just not far from here is where Clyde lived and where his dad owned a gas station and like a little garage where Clyde was raised. So let's go over there and see where Clyde lived. I've made a lot of good friends in the motorcycle business, a lot of good friends, a lot of people. Talking to you young people, if you ever have the opportunity to work for yourself and it's something viable, something that you know that you want to do and you think you can do it. Give it a shot. Okay. That's crazy. That's crazy for crying. I'm gonna pull back here. Yeah, somebody used to live here, the Barrows. I'll see you in a minute. Hey y'all, Rick Fairless. So I made it over to where the Clyde Barrow family lived. So in this was a garage, and the family lived here. Clyde and his brother Buck, and then the mom and dad lived here, and then it was a garage filling station. This was it wasn't the bustling city that you see now back in the 30s, but the cars would pull in here. You'd go inside, you'd pump you some gas, or they'd pump it for you back then. You'd go in and get a RC Cola moon pie, and then if you wanted Mr. Barrow to tweak your carburetor, he'd tweak your carburetor. So this was the shop and their house. So if you walk around here, it looks like they added on the wooden part to where they could live here. Which is kind of crazy to think that the Barrows lived here. You know, I don't know what they're going to do with this property because they're renovating this whole neighborhood, but I think it would be cool to own this, you know, for somebody to buy it and to, you know, like in Irving, where Lee Harvey Oswald was, the city of Irving bought that house and they put it back to how it was on November 22nd, 1963. So it would be cool for somebody to buy this and to put it back the way it was in 1934 or in the early 30s there when Clyde and Bonnie were on their crime spree. I think I'm going to ask my wife if I can buy it and turn it into a tourist trap, but I know the answer to that one, no. But it's just kind of, it gives you that kind of a queasy feeling to know that, you know, you're in the same place where those notorious killers were. You know, obviously the neighborhood is a lot different, but some of these houses, like the one across the street, that one's probably been here since all that time. You know, you can see that they're building like these apartments and stuff. So this neighborhood in South Dallas is really, it's being renovated, you know, so they're doing some cool stuff, but this thing needs to remain history. They need to redo it. Hey, how about my Toyota truck we were talking about? So you see that wrap on it? Pretty cool. It has a bunch of different things that we do there at Strokers and Punch Wally. So if you like it, you can call Toyota of Irving the Strokers Edition. That's what they call this. But they lifted it 3 inches and put on some 35-inch tires. I think the wheels are Method wheels. They put on light bar on top. When you turn that light bar on top on in the middle of the night, you can find a dime 100 yards away. I mean, that thing is blinding. And then they put another light bar in the grill. And check out the bumper. It's that iron cross bumper. It's very Mad Max looking. And it's got the Warren winch on it, which is a top of the line winch. And it's just a cool truck. They put an amp on the stereo, so it gives me more of that boom, 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 boom. I don't really need that when I'm listening to Troy Aikman talk. I don't know how to tell you that, but I don't need the boom, boom listening to Troy Aikman, okay? But I love this truck. Toyotas have a huge following, especially on their Tundras. Lift kit, airbags, just a cool truck. But we'll get more into that on another video. I want to do a whole nother video with me and Biggin talking about the truck. So this is a cool place. I'll see you later. We'll talk more later. Bye.